All right. Welcome everyone to episode number 8 of the Christian Homies Discuss podcast. Yes, it is surprising to us as well that we made it this long, but we're still here. We're still bringing y'all the best content we can. Today, we're actually starting a new series. Isn't that exciting? This series is about seeking God for a lot of different things that we need in our life in order to live the best life that we can, the life that God has called us to. And there's so much that we're going to be diving into in this series. But today we're going to be talking about seeking God for truth. So we have a very interesting one for y'all today. So we're going to start that first episode right now with Jackson.
I'm going crazy. Wait, I'm going first. I'm going first. I'm going crazy.
We're just
going first.
We're so used to going crazy in our lives that it's just the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, going crazy up here. But okay, let's hit this good stuff. I'm gonna move my Bible so I can speak without looking down. But so I'm gonna start us off talking about fear of the Lord. I think we've all heard that term before. Fear the Lord. We fear God. But it's
I love that clothing brand.
I love it. I know, right? I have a hoodie that says "I Fear God, Homie" by the Elijah Lamb. He's a good old Christian boy. I love him. But
when you put like a graphic up like right here, that just says,
right here.
It just has a picture of his face and just says "good old Christian boy."
Good old Christian boy. But fear of the Lord is super important in seeking truth that is God. Ooh, did I just word that well? That was kind of fire. If I don't take. But
yeah, calm down there, bud. Just continue
I'm
talking.
getting prideful.
Yeah, you're not Jesus, all right.
I'm not. I didn't say I was Jesus. Okay. I think that's heresy. That is heresy.
That is definitely heresy.
That's certainly heresy. There's
hey
no
guys,
debate about that.
Just a quick little thing. I'm Jesus, actually.
No, don't say that.
We've gotten
No,
so
I'm
sidetracked.
not. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's what I thought, bud.
Okay.
Jesus wasn't white. That's a different
conversation.
All right. Well, now that we have thoroughly derailed this conversation.
Yes. Okay. Fear the Lord. We've all heard that term, but some people don't know what it means, and I'm going to briefly explain it so I can get into my points. So fearing the Lord, fearing God. It's not a spirit of I'm terrified, but it is a reverence. It's a awe. It's a seeing that like, whoa, God is like holy and he's righteous but also he's like got my back, like I don't fear God because he might punish me. I fear God because I respect him. It's a respect, it's a love, it's a I don't know what's the word, like just being in awe of him, and that's what fear of the Lord is. Now that I explained it, thank you, Jake, for the hand movements.
You're welcome.
Now that I explained it, I'm going to tie it to how seeking God and truth is important. So, Proverbs 9:10, the good old verse. The good old verse. That's
the good old 9:10 Proverbs.
First we have the good old Christian boy, now we have the good old Christian verse.
The good old Christian verse, Proverbs 9:10. Fear the Lord is beginning of wisdom. That's not all of it, but it's part of it. But that's truth. Did you hear that?
Yeah, bro.
What was
Fireworks
that?
going crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, you might hear that in the background. It's okay. No one's getting shot. It's just fireworks. But so in fearing the Lord and having that that awe of God, that fear of God, it's the beginning of wisdom. That's where we become wise. That's where we know, I'm going to hate my sin because I love God. I'm going to hate the worldly things because I love God. And in that, we are gaining wisdom from him. He's teaching us. He's sanctifying us, And that's where we find truth. We find truth in him, teaching us and guiding us through our lives, And so I have a couple of verses that I want to read off. Other than Proverbs 9:10, I'm going to hit us up with the Psalms. Because Psalms go crazy. David goes hard in those. He cries a lot in it, but also it's really good.
David's just a big old sad boy.
He is.
He really is.
He is
Psalms should just
awesome
be
God.
renamed Sad Boy Hours, but with God.
Literally. Just
With God.
Okay, so Psalms 37, 23 to 24. I love this. I love this so much. It's like one of the best things I've read reading through Psalms. But it says, "The steps of a man are established by the Lord when he delights in his ways. Though he fall, he should not be cast headlong, for the Lord upholds his hand." Now is that reassuring? That's so sick. So what that's basically saying is that, when we trust in God, when we put our faith in him, even though we may fall and stumble, he's going to pick us right back up because he loves us that much,
Mhm.
It's such a wild thing having the God of the universe on our side, walking with us every step of the way, walking with us through our struggles, helping us out of our sin, that we struggle with. It's such a wonderful reminder that he is good. And like, this is the God, of the Old and New Testament, the Old Testament, like where he shows his wrath so much more than the New Testament, but it still talks about the good stuff of him, because God is always good. He's never bad.
Even the wrath part's good.
Yeah, even the wrath part's good because it's justified, He's a holy, righteous God. But like just seeing that and seeing David just know right about that and just like showing like, the love of God and that, just like, man, I'm glad I serve him. I'm glad I have that fear of the Lord in my heart. So I can know that, so I can have that wisdom that he is truth, and that I can trust him with my life. And another verse that I want to hit on, which is also in Psalms. Gotta flip to it. If I can find it again. Here we go. It is Psalms 40, 4 and 5. Verses 4 and 5. Now this is good. This is good stuff right here. So it says in verse 4, "Blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, who does not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after a lie. You have multiplied, O Lord my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts towards me. None can compare with you. I will proclaim and tell of them, yet they are more than can be told." Like, sheesh. Oh, man. Like, that is so good. Oh, man. I love...
David's dropping some freaking bars, bro.
He is, dude. David is...
That's David. That's a little representation of David.
What he said, he literally did that when he wrote that. He literally did that. That's not a lie.
In the Bible,
promise.
you see.
It's in the footnotes. You gotta look for it.
Yeah, look it up.
That's the actual meaning of Selah. No one really knows what it means, but that's really what it means. They were just going. The guy was writing this stuff down, just like, I'll just write Selah.
They won't get it.
Oh, brother.
But man, like, blessed are the people that put their trust in the Lord, because he is truth and he will guide those who put their trust in him. See how I did that? That was crazy. Truth and trust, they go together like mac and cheese. Make that a sermon.
Bro, mac and cheese?
I'll add it to the notes.
Add it to the notes. But
it's added.
Thank you. You smacking the keyboard. But man, like, just being able to trust God and that, and having that wisdom when we, fear him. And it sounds so weird when I say we fear him, so we can have that wisdom. Like, I don't mean it in a bad way, I promise.
It's like respect.
It's respect.
It's reverence, not.
It's reverence. It's not. Like, I feel like I have to say that every time so no one like gets confused. But like,
now let's be honest. Everyone who's listening to this like understands what it means.
Yeah, I know. Like, it took me a while.
We love you, listeners.
Dude. We can
put something
confusing.
like right here that just says like, "We love you, listeners."
We love you.
We love
You're
you.
going crazy out there.
They're like David.
It's David going crazy. Oh my gosh, are you guys... Okay, they're going absolutely mad. I
can't hear it.
You can't hear it? Okay. But it's
Bro, you gotta get your hearing checked. I can hear it.
I also don't have my friggin' AirPods in, so.
Oh, that could be it.
True. Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to get your hearing checked. You might be fine, but.
Might be fine. You
do
get
it
your
just
eyes
in case.
checked, though.
AirPods just put you on a different level, bro.
Yeah. They make you go. They don't make you use it. But okay, anyways. So yes, it's tied up because I'm finished with my point.
Sick.
Let's tie it
That's
up.
sick, man.
Jackson's going out with a bang.
Literally.
Literally.
Jeez, you're going insane out there. It's not even 4th yet. It's literally the
Yeah,
30th.
bro. It's in like 4 days. It's not even July yet, dude.
It's not July yet. Jeez. But I'm gonna wrap it up here because my point's done.
Their fireworks aren't though.
Yeah, the fireworks aren't done though. But trust in the Lord, man.
Fireworks just like popping, like, please stop. This is your
Please.
cue to stop.
Please, I'm trying to speak about Jesus here. But okay, to wrap it up, you know, the fear of the Lord is we gotta give wisdom, and in that wisdom we learn that God is truth, you know, and we can put our trust in Him. We can seek truth through Him and by Him because He's gonna give it to us, you know. When we ask, He's gonna give it to us because we're asking with the humble heart.
Give me,
Please, I love you, Jesus.
give me wisdom. Give me.
We're asking with the humble heart. And
Yeah, just let that image sink into your mind for a bit.
I bet that's
Yeah,
how.
next time
that's how
you're
Solomon
praying
was.
for something, be like, are you asking like that, or are you like
Give me,
praising the Lord and being humble?
I know, right?
God, I worked so hard for this. Can you just give it to me already?
Gimme.
That's
No.
See,
low-key a good
that's how
tip.
we need to go into worship and prayer, man.
Yes. So I worship you really good today, God. Give me what I want now.
Give me wealth, God.
You're gonna end up like Solomon, my guy. You don't want to be like him.
Facts.
But
Yo,
yeah,
excuse me.
that's my part. Now we're gonna turn it to Sean because he's right there.
Oh, easily.
Okay. Anyways, kind of building off of what Jackson was saying, you know, because he was saying how we can trust God because He is truth. I'm sure most of you can guess what verse I'm about to quote, and it's Jesus saying,
I
"I'm the
literally
way."
heard this like 5 minutes before we started talking, and I already forgot it.
Oh wow! I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. Yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
Weird, right? When we're talking about, you know, saying God is truth and Jesus says He is truth, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I was looking into this verse and it's like, you know, what does Jesus mean He is the truth? You know, it's not like Jesus is correct. You know, He's not saying, you know, that.
He
So we have to
is.
define, well,
he is
yes,
correct.
He is, but He's not saying it like, I am a verifiable fact. You know, we need to define truth is what I'm trying to say in the sense that, in the way Jesus is talking about it. You know, use the context around it. He is the way and the life. And so those things, the way, He is the way for us to, you know, He is the mediator between us and God, and the life because, well, that's life right there. You know, that's eternal life right there. And so also He is the truth. And He is the truth, meaning He is, you know, kind of the fulfillment of the Old Testament, like laws and everything. He is the truth in the midst of all of that, and He is the truth in the sense of like providing purpose in life. And that's, you know, that's a big truth right there. You know, the meaning of life, and Jesus, you know, He is the truth in that, because He is, you know, like I said, He is the mediator between us and God. He is the truth in the midst of that. And so this is a huge thing to acknowledge Jesus as truth. And He also continues on, or well, that was in John chapter 14. And in chapter 15, Jesus goes on, He tells the story saying, I am the true vine. I'm the vine, you are the branches. You know, He tells that I guess that was a parable. Yeah. More or less. But yeah, and so again, He is the true vine. He is the truth in the way that He is, you know, the mediator between us and God. And so understanding the aspect of not only seeking God for truth, but seeking God as truth. You know, there's no way you can go wrong by seeking God, you know, because He is truth. And even, you know, just thinking about it logically, you know, God is omniscient, He is omnipresent, He is omnipotent, He's been, you know, He is the Alpha, the Omega, He's been around since before the beginning of the universe.
He's been
He's
around.
outside of time.
He's been around.
He's outside of space. He's he's perfect. He's God. I could go on and on, but I think you all understand that God is freaking amazing. But going off of that, and because God is, the creator of all things, the Alpha and the Omega, he is, all knowing. He not only knows all truth, but he is all truth, being the creator of everything, which is, when you truly think about it, that's just incredible. The fact that we can, that's our God, that he has a personal relationship with us, that is just mind blowing. It doesn't even make sense, but it's true. Truth. So much stuff going on right now. But yeah, it's really cool. And so when we're seeking God, and where's the verse? Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Actually. But yes, when it's talking about prayer, it says, keep on asking and you'll receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. I feel like a lot of times this verse can kind of be taken out of context, and well, not even necessarily taken out of context, but it can be manipulated to, create the meaning people want for it. And, that meaning is, oh, if I just, ask God, he'll give it to me. If I just, look for him, I'll get it, whatever. And they kind of use it as a prosperity gospel kind of verse, which in fact, that's not what it's saying at all. But rather, Jesus is saying God is faithful. He will meet you in the middle. He'll always meet you there. If you put in the effort to, sit down and pray, being like, God, I'm asking you, for this. I'm seeking an answer on this. God is faithful and he will give it to you. But we often, misinterpret that as, when it says keep on asking, you'll receive what you ask for. Well, that doesn't mean if you're asking for $1 million, if you keep asking God for $1 million, that doesn't mean you're going to receive it.
What?
That's not, it's not what it's meaning at all.
What a mind-blowing
What are you
concept.
telling me right now? This is not what I learned. I was about to drop names. I was about to drop names.
About to call out people. That's funny. Anyways, but it's talking about prayer. And, we have to understand prayer isn't just us, talking to the almighty gift giver for, whatever. That's not what it is. Prayer is a conversation. Prayer is a thing where we have to go humbly before God's throne. And Jesus says it when he's talking about, this is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The Lord's Prayer and everything. But what he says in that prayer and kind of what we need to understand about prayer, I'm kind of going off on a tangent on prayer right now, which we did another.
Go off.
We already did a video on that. But anyways, prayer.
Drop some bars for us.
You have to seek God humbly, and you have to seek him kind of going, tie this into what Jackson was saying, the fear of God, the reverence of God, respecting him so much. And when you have that relationship with God, when you have that reverence for him, you are no longer seeking your will above his. You are no longer seeking the things of this world, but rather you would want to see God's will prosper over yours. Because, even though it may, not be as comfortable, it may not be as, whatever, for you in this life, it's certainly far more beneficial than anything we could ever do. It's kind of recognizing that, well, I'm going to steal this from you, Jake. But it's recognizing God's ways are higher than our ways. I know you wanted to say that, but I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Stole
Get
that
back
verse,
here, Jake.
but it was the perfect. It tied in too well to not say it. But when you recognize that, and you truly understand it, then you come to prayer humbly and you're seeking God's will above yours. And so in the same way, when it's talking about effective prayer, keep on asking, you will receive what you ask for. If you're asking God for, let's say you're asking God for patience or whatever, and you'll receive what you ask for. Again, another common misconception, I guess, of this is, if you ask for patience and you continually ask for it every day, God will make you more patient. I think oftentimes what we'll see happen is if you ask God for patience, he'll give you opportunities in life to
Yeah.
become more patient.
Mm.
You know, you're not
Exactly.
he's not going to simply wave a
Come
magic
on,
wand and
come
be
on.
like, more patience, you know?
Yeah.
You're not just going to become a better
Let me
person
sprinkle a little
just
more patience
because
there
of
for
that.
you.
Yeah, it's not going to be like that, but he's going to make you a better person by going through things in life. In the same way, keep on seeking and you will find, keep on knocking, the door will be opened. When you're knocking and the door will be opened, you might not, what you thought was behind the door might not be what it actually is.
Ooh.
And it's because, that's
come on.
God's door for your life. He's going to open the door that he wants to.
Yeah.
I kind of imagine this: when you keep on knocking, the door will be opened. Maybe it's not even the door you're knocking on. You know, you could be knocking on a certain door and God's like, no, I'm keeping that closed, but I'll open up this door for you. And if you truly want to follow me, you'll follow that path for you.
Yes.
But yeah, I gotta calm down right now. I gotta
That's so
drink some
good.
water.
You're gonna make me throw my freaking break my hat on the wall from throwing it so much.
That was good, my guy.
As just something for anyone who's watching this right now, I didn't plan or write down any of this, so I'm not gonna take any credit for what I'm saying.
Holy
I'm just
Spirit's
gonna
moving,
just
man.
It's the
I'm just
Christian
gonna say
homie upstairs,
it's
bro.
Literally.
exactly it's the
Homie
homie
Christ.
G, homie G.
Is that heretical to say? I don't,
I don't
I don't
think
think there's
so.
much fear in calling him homie.
Well, no, I fear it. Well, not fear, but I have respect for you guys and call you my homies. And it's the same way for
It's
God.
not the same way. You can't use that.
Well,
He's
no,
a
it's not the same
righteous
way
God.
That's an
necessarily.
invalid argument.
Yeah.
Well,
He's a
yeah,
righteous
well, I
God
certainly
while we're
don't.
human.
But yeah, all right. Yeah, so tying in that point to kind of pass it on to Jake. I don't know where he is in the
I don't need your transition.
up,
Okay, I got my
right.
own dog.
Okay. Well, I was
Who's
just
this guy?
gonna. You know what? Just take it
No,
away.
let him do it. Let him do it.
Yeah.
I want to see what the transition was gonna be. Perform my own transition
Is it
for me,
actually-
pal. All right, do it. Do it, friend.
No, I'm just gonna. It's yours now.
Fine.
Toss it up to
That's
you.
funny.
I will receive it. So, as Sean was saying, God is truth.
Yeah.
But what I want to talk about today is how we see that truth and how our perspective can shift when we see his truth for what it really is. I want to bring up Isaiah 55, 8-9, which Sean attempted to steal from me, but I'm taking it back. It's mine now. This verse is mine. It says,
For sure, it's Isaiah's.
it's actually the Lord's. But
Yeah,
it says,
fair enough.
for my thoughts
Sure.
are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. Yawn incoming.
Are you saying that's boring?
Oh,
You
no,
dare
no,
insult
no.
the verse?
Not me, not me. Mom, yeah, okay. So I guess I gotta go. My mom's calling me.
Why'd you get
Yeah,
a New
okay.
York accent right there?
Is that fun? Anyways, so and the reason why I use that is because it kind of paints this picture that I want to dive into today about seeing truth. And as Sean was saying, the hard way he's saying is that the truth is objective. Because truth is God. Truth is not something that changes based on how you see it. Maybe you see different parts of it, but it doesn't change what it is essentially. And I see this picture in my mind of kind of like an aerial view versus like on the ground view. When you're on the ground, you can't see everything around you. You can only see what's directly in your vision. But when you're able to get to that aerial view, you're able to see the full picture of what's going on. And this verse is talking about how God is the only one with that aerial view of what truth is. He is the only person who is able to see truth for what it really is in its entirety. All we can do is kind of see parts as we try to navigate it. And God can give us that perspective to see it from more of that aerial view and to get higher and closer to his ways, but we will never fully get there. So we've kind of got to trust that he knows more than us. And I kind of I get this like illustration in my mind of like The Matrix, where
Hey.
Keanu Reeves' character. It's a pretty good movie, by the way. I don't know if we can recommend it on here, but
It
It's a movie.
it's a movie. It's a movie.
is a movie. That's
Keanu Reeves' character, he basically lives this like boring life, and he doesn't realize that there's a huge overarching thing going on in the world around him, and he needs to be brought out of his perspective, out of his surroundings and situations, to be placed in a higher perspective, so he can see things for the way they are, so he can see the truth of what's going on. And I kind of see this as like, we need this too. But the thing is, we can't bring ourselves out of the perspective that we're in, out of the situation that we are placed in, and truth is God, as Sean was saying. So how can we see truth if we're not seeing God? That doesn't make logical sense. Usually I'm not the one to go logical, but look at me. We're trying to do things today.
That's funny.
Look at me now, Mom.
Another way I see this is, and it's something that I alluded to a little bit earlier, but it's another movie. I love movies, so I try to reference them as much as I can. But this is actually a scene that I reference a lot, and it's in Indiana Jones. I think it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think it's that one. But basically, he's trying to get to the Holy Grail, which, by the way, is not a thing. That's not a thing. But he's trying to get to the Holy Grail, but in order to get there, like, he's so close to getting there, but to take that last little bit of the journey, he needs to pass an invisible bridge. But the thing is, obviously, it's invisible, and there's a chasm underneath him, so he can't see what's beneath him, except for just like a chasm. Like, if he falls, he dies. That's it. Done. Journey's over. Life's over. You're donezo.
Finish, bro.
But basically, what he just has to like take one step at a time in faith that the step is going to be there. I feel like that's kind of why we need God. Because we have that truth underneath us that we want to walk on. We want to walk on the truth that God has placed in the world, and that is Him. But we need to have faith that He's going to guide us on that bridge. We can't see the next step. We can't see where the truth will lead us necessarily. But we just got to trust that God knows it, and that He knows exactly each step that we're about to take. He knows all the truth in the world because He is the truth. So we just got to rely on Him to guide our feet. Like that verse in Psalm says, He's like a lamp unto our path. He will illuminate where we need to go. He will illuminate where the truth is leading us. But we also need to take a step of faith to say, I don't know the truth. For all I know, I'm stepping into a chasm. I'm stepping forward to my death. But when we have God, He's able to give us a new perspective, and we're able to see more of where that bridge leads as we go along. So things can get pretty convoluted if we try to see truth from our own perspective. As I was saying earlier, we can't see where the truth is. That's just not in our human capacity. We are meant to be led to the truth and led by the truth, by God. And when we're trying to search for truth, it's kind of like searching through a jungle or a maze, and this kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier about having the aerial versus the ground perspective. When you're walking through a maze on the ground, it's so confusing. That's the whole point of it, is that truth is kind of like a maze sometimes, where it has so many different parts, and it has so many things that we don't understand, that we can't fully comprehend. And so often we lead ourselves to dead ends when we're trying to seek truth by ourselves. But when we're able to ask God for His perspective, He's able to give us that aerial view. He's able to see where we are and see the way out of the maze. And He's able to say, take a left here, take a right here. I need you to keep going straight instead of going off one of these other directions. And without the aerial view, we're just going to keep going around in that maze. We're going to be stuck here. We're going to be stuck here in a world that tries to find out truth by itself. And I think, as we've seen, when we try to find the truth for ourselves and we say truth is subjective, and we can each find it for ourselves, that doesn't lead us anywhere, unfortunately. All that leads us is to dead ends. But with God, we're able to see that kind of aerial perspective. He's able to put us in a new perspective to see what the truth really is. And as the Bible says, the truth will set you free. And that's, I mean, who doesn't want to be set free, right? Because I'll be honest, man, it can be frustrating sometimes when you're trying to see outside of your perspective, but you just can't. When you just can't see what the next step is. When you're knocking on the door, but it just isn't being opened. It's frustrating when you're in the middle of it. But we just gotta trust that God knows what the truth is. And if God is good all the time, and God is also truth, he will lead us to good things, which is the truth of who he is. So it's a journey. It's a journey. And we will probably end up hitting many of those dead ends. Because so often we get confused and we think that it's better if we try to seek out the truth. But we always got to put it in that perspective with that fear of the Lord and that reference saying, you know what, God, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not the one who put myself on this earth, even in the first place. I was freaking born here, not of my own will. I mean, thank God I was born, but I didn't do anything to put myself here. And I didn't do anything to grow myself. It was all because of God. So that's what I have to say. But before we close, do y'all have anything you'd like to add? Anything you want to leave the audience with? A little nugget.
What I have to say is, we gotta put our trust in God, man. Oops, I just dropped a nail clipper.
We gotta put our trust in the nail clipper.
Everything's just crumbling now. My phone fell. It was my lighting.
Well, it's almost like your life, dude.
Yeah. No. But we have.
Without God, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without God, there's no light, man. That's facts. But we have to put our trust in him. We have to realize that, he is truth and that he will guide us through life inevitably. He doesn't want the worst for us. He knows what's best for us, and he has a plan for us. So put your lives in his hands because he has it.
Yeah. Going off of the putting your trust in God. I'm gonna quote. It's from Francis Chan. Was actually my senior quote this year. It was. How does it start off? He says, "I have this amazing relationship with God that everything in my life could fall apart and I'll be okay." It was something along the lines of that. And this kind of goes to show, first of all, it shows that God is truth, and it's beneficial to put our trust in him, because even the ways of the world that seem to lead to be truthful, they will fail. As much as I hate to say it, I think America is a great country, but it will fail. It will not be, it's certainly not perfect. We've, well, if you're not able to recognize that, you're blind, but that's a whole nother discussion. But, because everyone and everything has its problems. Nothing is perfect except for God. And so if you put your trust in something of this world that is built on these things that are not, just not perfect, I guess, you will end up, falling down, and it's going to hurt. But if you put your trust in God, everything else can fall apart. You can see, martyrs who have lived in these terrible situations for years, been thrown into prisons and tortured and everything, and they're still joyful and they're still at peace. And it's this doesn't make any sense. But it's because God. Because God. I don't even have to say anything else. But
That's right.
Because he is truth, and there is so much purpose in that truth. And we can trust it, because it doesn't make sense to trust it in those situations. Worldly speaking, it doesn't make any sense. But, if we just look through the way God's proven to be faithful time and time again, it makes complete sense to always trust him, So, he is truth. He will never fail. So, yeah.
That's so good. Thank you for that amazing reminder, Sean. Yeah, man, I love this talk so much, y'all. There's something different about this one. You know, man, I
It's
feel God
later
right.
at night.
I feel
Yeah.
God. Maybe it's just the night. Maybe I'm just tired, but I feel God in this place right now, man. I feel God.
I feel the Lord, man.
But for real, I do. But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Christian Homies Discuss. We hope that it encouraged you. We hope that this inspires you to seek God and to seek the truth that He offers to every single person. We believe that He is love, and that is the truth. The truth is that He is love, and He is the only source of true love. And He loves you. He loves me. He loves Jackson. He loves Sean, and that's it. No one else. Just us four. No, He
We're
loves
in
every
this
single
together.
person.
Well, I mean, he
died for us,
basically said
so-
he loves everyone because he says he loves you, and everyone can watch this if they possibly
Oh.
feel like it. You know.
You found
So
the
it's-
loophole.
There you go.
But yes, Jesus died for our sins because He loved us and He wanted to show His love for us, and that's why we do this every single week. We don't do it because we're so great, because we're so knowledgeable, or anything like that. As Sean was saying, we don't even plan half the stuff we say. God just like takes over, and He's like,
Yeah, kind of
"Here you go."
exposed us.
And we're just like, "Hey, thanks, God." But man, it's such a privilege, such an honor to speak with these guys and to speak the words of Jesus flowing through us. We hope you guys join us for the journey ahead, because this ain't stopping anytime soon.
Yes,
We hope you enjoyed
know,
this
sir.
episode, that was able to encourage you guys, and we will see you next week with our next installment in the series Seeking God. Love you guys. Peace.